Welcome to a Team KNK tutorial brought to you by Beyond Measure. This is the amazing Make the Cut software. Today's tutorial is about a variety of different flowers. So I went into the gallery, typed flowers in the search, and this is what it brought up. I'm downloading a myriad of different flowers. This one is called Same Size Flower. This one is my take on the rolled flower. Now let's see what will happen if we type rose in the search of the gallery. I tell you what, the gallery is such a blessing. And these pretty leaves are called rose leaves. And last but not least, actually it was first, is the die-cut flowers. The rose leaves do not need to be this large, so select all of them and size. And this super cool wreath is called the branch wreath. Just in case you're not familiar with the workings of Make the Cut software, I'm just showing a few things that can be done so very easily just with the click of the mouse. Rotating, sizing, and now we're grabbing a circle out of the basic shapes area because I need a circle punch in the middle of some of these little flowers. So I placed the circle on there, selected the circle and selected the flower, and then joined it together to create a hole in the middle as if I punched it out with a hole punch. I could do so on each and every flower, but I'm choosing to duplicate them instead. So you go up to Edit and then Duplicate. And these are the flowers that I downloaded from the gallery that are termed die-cut flowers. They're pretty large, so I'm going to size them down for this project. In the midst of working on a project within Make the Cut software, make sure that you periodically save your project. I believe it does have an automatic save, but just in case. I copied these leaves and brought them into the branch wreath page. And here is my paintbrush that I'm going to paint. I believe this color is burnt umber, and then the next is metallic gold. Any acrylic, craft, or latex paint will do. Because we're going for a rustic, shabby chic effect, I am not taking any time to sand the brush or anything. First, I painted the base coat, let it dry. Then I painted it with white glue, let it almost dry to a tacky consistency, and then painted over it with an antique white. This is the Lord's Prayer paper, and now I'm using the Ideology paper stash from Tim Holtz. For more of a vintage shabby chic look, I'm inking all of the edges of every single flower. I'm varying it up though. I used either Tim Holtz Distress Ink in old paper or walnut stain. We're creating a tattered rose. We need 2 flowers with all 6 petals, then we need a 4-petaled one and a 5-petaled one. Mist with water, then emboss with an embossing stylus on top of an embossing mat. If you cannot find an embossing mat, use some thick fun foam. Make sure to save the 2 petals that you cut off because you're using those for the center. Roll tightly on a toothpick or on the end of a skinny paintbrush. Unroll, put a dab of hot glue, and then roll it again. Now it's time to work with your 4-petaled flower. Dab a bit of hot glue on it and then adhere the rolled center on there and then begin to roll. Roll tightly, but not as tightly as you did the first layer. If you feel more comfortable adding more glue than I do, then my goodness, add more glue. Otherwise, just have a good grip on it and glue it at the ends. Work it, work it, work that paper. And now for the 5-petal flower. Put a little dab of hot glue towards the center and adhere the rolled portion of the flower. With each layer of flour, roll a little looser. Fold this one in half and then half again and cut out the center to make a hole. Then apply the glue around that center hole and poke your rolled flour in the middle, making sure to alternate where the petals fall. Now for the outside layer, put some hot glue in the center and adhere the rest of the flour, making sure to stagger the petals. You don't have to do this, but I put a dab of glue in the center so that I could glue a bit of silver nail caviar in the center. This is my Glimmer Mess box. I've randomly placed all of my layers into the box. I'm using suede, bronze, and gold on my flowers, plus a little silver sparkle. This rolled flower was still a bit damp, so I could go ahead and emboss it with the stylus. Put a little glue on the outside, roll it pretty tightly, making sure to add a dab of glue here and there as you're rolling. And as you get closer to the end, it seems as if you need to loosen your roll just a bit and make sure that your petals are staggered as you roll. Do not allow yourself to get discouraged on these roses because they will turn out for you. You just have to work with it, especially your first one. Your second and third and fourth and fifth ones are always a lot better than the first one. You can always use a little end of a paintbrush to roll the petals back. And next we'll do another rose with the same technique that we used on the tattered rose, as far as, clipping the petals and embossing it after we misted with water. I'm not only embossing those flower petals, but I'm also doing the little ones and also a leaf or two. Texture really makes a super difference on these flowers. As you notice on this leaf, I'm doing the vein down the center and then cupping it on different sides. Put a bit of glue on the flower that has the least amount of petals and roll. Then dab some glue on the end of it. Then go with the next one and add a bit of glue on it, and you'll notice that you'll be able to put the kind of like cone in the center of the hole, kind of through it a bit. And as you're rolling, you will not roll quite as tightly with each layer. And this is just a fun shabby chic flower that I'm making with a die cut. And I'm scrunching it. I also am adding a bit of, a button in the middle. I so love making all of these flowers. Please do not allow yourself to be intimidated by any of this. If I can do them, you can do them. With the Zing and Make the Cut software, you're sure to be able to do most anything. So now I'm gluing different layers of the daisy-like tattered flower, making sure to stagger the petals. I'm using the Victoria Provo Craft embossing folder to emboss my leaves with the Sussex Texture Boutique. I'm hot gluing some tulle to my paintbrush for a foundation. This is an awesome stamp by Faith Stamps. It says, "Don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big God is." And I'm using the Tim Holtz Distress Ink in Walnut Stain. You'll notice I used a homemade embossing buddy to make sure that the embossing powder doesn't go where it is unintended. Oh, and now we get to add some sparkle. This is the Stampendous Frontage Shabby Chic embossing enamels, but I'm just pressing a bit of the Versamark clear embossing ink upon it so that the Frontage embossing enamel will adhere to it. And then I'm going to use the Ranger heated tool. Notice it will shrink your tool if you want it to, and the bristles on the brush. And this is our completed project. I cannot take credit for the wonderful altered paintbrush idea. My inspiration came from Tiffany with Verve stamps. I hope you've enjoyed our tutorial today. You are so special, and be blessed beyond measure.